Imagine that you are a frightened dog who has lived their whole life in a small, dark cage. The only human interaction you get is when you're being fed and given water. You must sleep in your own excrement and you are never allowed to run or stretch your legs. You are constantly being bred with little to no veterinary care or grooming. Your puppies are taken away from you when they are too young to be weaned. This goes on and on until you are no longer able to breed, and then you are abandoned or killed because you are no longer useful. This might seem crazy and unrelatable, but it is a reality for many dogs living in puppy mills. Puppy mills and breeders are currently overproducing dogs and making it difficult for dogs and puppies in shelters to get adopted. Dogs purchased through puppy mills and pet stores often are abandoned because of health problems and temperament issues. This puts further strains on shelters that are already at capacity. We need to shut down these puppy mills and irresponsible breeders by no longer supporting their businesses financially and adopting the countless dogs and puppies that are in shelters. This has been a topic of interest for me personally since 2011 when I adopted my first puppy, Courage. This is him right here, the gray one. We adopted him through a private adoption from a couple who couldn't keep him any longer because they lived in a small apartment. Originally, they had found him as a small puppy, abandoned in an alley in the Tenderloins, scared and alone. When we adopted him, he was about 3 months old, and he was still very shy and afraid. It broke my heart to know that someone could abandon such a sweet and loving puppy, essentially leaving him for dead. This led me to want to learn more about adoption and other pets that need homes. After my research, I became convinced that adoption should be the way to get a new pet, not by supporting puppy mills or commercial breeders and pet stores. In my speech today, I will give you some background information and statistics about pet adoptions. Then I will also explain to you how puppies come to be in stores and pet stores, and some facts about puppy mills as well. And finally, I will give you some steps that can help end this horrible practice. I will start by giving you some background on the topic. There are currently so many dogs living in shelters and rescue centers that need a forever home. Most dogs that are currently in shelters are purebreds bought from breeders or pet stores. According to the ASPCA, there are approximately 6.5 million dogs that enter the United States animal shelters nationwide, and every year 1.5 million shelter animals are euthanized. Only 3.2 shelter animals are adopted each year, which leaves many poor animals without homes. According to the ASPCA's National Rehoming Survey, pet problems are the most common reason that pets owners rehome their dogs. Pet problems include problematic behaviors, aggression, health problems, and that they grow larger than the owner expected. The high number of animals to care for causes problems not only for shelters, but also for taxpayers. According to thedogrescuers.com, approximately 25% of dogs taken to shelters are purebreds, possibly coming from breeders. Over $2 billion is spent annually by local governments to care for and euthanize 8 to 10 million dogs a year. This is from Business Wire Features. Each day, 10,000 humans are born, and every day 7,000 puppies are born. 70,000. These numbers alone show how many puppies are left without homes every single day. This chart here shows how most people get their dogs. As you can see, the highest percentage being from the breeders right here at 34%, and only 23% go through animal shelters and the Humane Society. So there's still an outweighing number of people buying from breeders instead of dogs that need homes. There are so many great reasons to choose adoption. The first and the best reason is that you get to save a life of an animal and the joy that comes with that. The second reason is if you choose an adult pet, you can possibly avoid the hassles of house training and problems that come along with puppies like teething and chewing on furniture. In the end, you will save money because adoption is actually cheaper than buying a puppy from a pet store or from a breeder. Just because an animal is in a shelter does not mean something is wrong with them and they are just looking for a new home. You might ask yourself, how did this problem escalate so much? The simple answer is that too many puppies are being produced by irresponsible breeders and puppy mills who are only interested in monetary gain. Puppy mills are the root cause of surplus dogs and that end up in shelters. Puppy mill owners do not care about that they are flooding the market with more dogs than there are homes for. This chart here shows how a puppy comes from a breeder at a cruel breeding facility, is taken from their mother when they are too young to be housebroken. Then they are trucked for days across state lines and finally delivered to pet stores, where the cycle begins again at the breeding facilities. According to the puppymillproject.org, there are an estimated 167,000 dogs living in USDA licensed commercial breeding facilities. Over 2 million puppies are bred in mills every year. These mills can house hundreds and thousands of dogs at one time, which leads to poor care conditions for the animals. The mills put profit over the well-being of dogs, and the conditions they live in are often very terrible. These puppy mills are located all over the U.S., but there is a high concentration in the Midwest, and they often breed all types of dogs at once. Breeding parents spend their entire lives in cages, which are often stacked upon other cages with little protection from the elements. Dogs receive little to no veterinary care or grooming care, and they live in unsanitary and dirty conditions. Mothers are forced to breed every heat cycle and are killed or abandoned when they can no longer produce puppies. These mills often do not practice humane euthanasia, and dogs are killed by shooting or drowning. Most puppies that are for sale in the pet stores come from mills. According to paws.org, roughly 90% of puppies in pet stores come from puppy mills. Most retailers take the seller's word that the puppies are happy and healthy. Now that we learned about the terrible conditions that these dogs are subjected to, we can see that there must be something done. Let's see what steps can be taken to end puppy mills. Although it is such a widespread problem in the U.S., there are some steps that we can do. In this chart here, I have listed for you some options to help end the puppy mill problem. The first step is to be a responsible and informed consumer. If you decide to buy a dog from a breeder, go to a reputable one that is willing to show you where the dogs spend their time and introduce you to their parents. The breeder should explain to you the puppy's medical history and vaccines, as well as contact for a veterinary office that have been seen by. The breeder should not have puppies available year-round. They should also ask you about your personal family lifestyle, why you want the puppy, and your care and training plans for the puppy. The most important step to ending the puppy mill business is choosing adoption. Support giving a home to a pet in need is rewarding for both the owner and the animal. Step 3 is to support laws and legislation that protect animals from puppy mill cruelty. These laws should put a cap on the number of animals a person can own and breed. They should establish care standards for exercise, housing, access to food and water, and regular vet care. Donating pet supplies is also a great idea to shelters, and it is important to help improve the lives of animals who are still looking for homes. In conclusion, I hope that I was able to bring you some attention to this important issue and also present some facts to prove that how these animals are suffering every day. I hope to have convinced some of you to consider adoption the next time you are looking for a new pet. Puppy mills are the leading cause of overcrowding in shelters, and something can be done to change this. Instead of giving money to greedy breeders, we should use that money to adopt a pet in need and provide excellent care for them. By taking these steps that I mentioned before, we can help to stop this horrible practice of puppy mills. Thank you. And this is my audience here. This is Frisco. Did you enjoy the speech?
Uh-huh.
Did you learn about puppy mills and adoptions?
I had Goofy, I had Goop, and I had Scooby, I had Sophia.
Those are all puppies that we have adopted in the past. Thank you.